Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about Cascade. Now my whole commander deck is based around Maelstrom, which is Cascade. Cascade gives everything haste. I'm well aware this is a very, very busted keyword. Honestly, kind of insane that it even exists in general because of what it can do. So in general, I'm just going to read over essentially what it does real quick. So when you cast a spell, specifically something that's Cascade, you exile top cards from your library until you hit something that's 1 mana value less than a card that has Cascade that's not a land. And then you play that card. You can play it if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. And then after that, you put the exile cards at the bottom of your library. So you don't really decrease the value of your deck. You don't mill anything. You just straight up exile them temporarily, put them back underneath your deck, and then whatever is not a land that you draw and is at the correct mana value, you play it or you don't have to play it. That's essentially what this does. Pretty straightforward. It's very powerful, but we'll get into that. So there's only 39 cards in the game that have it, which I think is kind of wild. I didn't actually know that. Fun things to note, that basically when you cast something else Cascade, it instantly triggers. So even if they counterspell your card that has Cascade, your Cascade's still on the stack, so you do your Cascade still. Your just creature won't hit the field, or your enchantment won't hit the field, or whatever. But let's get into some of the cards real quick. So I run these 2 cards. I know that these 2 cards aren't I don't know, anything that has default Cascade is good, but depending on how your deck structured, depending on what you want to hit for targets, these mana values matter a lot. Frankly, the mana value matters more than the actual Cascade effect, because what you're going to Cascade is based off that mana value. So for instance, the cards that I think are really, really good for Cascading, that I use at least, is Emoti is probably the best card in the deck. Maelstrom is my commander. Shardless Agent, even though it's 3, the reason why it's really good is because it hits all my mana. So if I don't have Soul Ring yet, put this down, I get Soul Ring. I get Soul Ring, Mystical Tutor, or a Mana Dork. It's like a Mana Dork Druid. Basically, I tap it for 2 and it gives me 2 mana and it dies. It's it is what it is. It's just, this is actually, in my opinion, Shardless Agent is one of the best cards in the deck, strictly because it sifts through the entire thing, gives me essentially a free card that I want to choose with Mystical Tutor, or I can get more mana. Maelstrom has Cascade, and it gives everything haste, which allows everything. Having haste in this deck allows for so much opportunity. It makes bad cards good, which I'll get into that. Specifically, Magnus of the Mind, horrible card generally. Horrible, absolutely horrible. But because Cascades are considered cast when you cast them from the Cascade, it allows Magnus to actually activate as well as Mind's Desires. So basically you have 2 Mind's Desires in your deck, and it works. If this did not have haste, Magnus of the Mind wouldn't actually operate correctly. You have to wait a turn for it to work, and it wouldn't actually work. So because it has haste, that's a specific instance, but because it has haste, I can trigger anything I want. I can attack on the same turn. I can pretty much end games sometimes in 1 or 2 turns with this card, just Maelstrom Wanderer, because of the deck setup. Emoti, you have to draw Emoti to do a basically absolute win condition, because what this does is you have a lot of high power creatures in this deck, because Maelstrom can hit anything that's 7 or less. What Emoti does is spells you cast with a converted mana cost of 6 or greater have Cascade. A lot of the cards in my deck have that. So basically I'm hitting these cards, and if Emoti's out there, they have Cascade, Emoti has Cascade, and we're just cascading through the whole deck. That's essentially the goal. It doesn't always happen, due to obviously 100 cards being in your deck is a lot, but it happens enough to where when it does happen, it's really, really fun for me. Maybe not for my opponents. I call it spin to win. It's get to 8 mana and spin to win. That's literally my entire deck is just get to 8 mana, spin to win. When I draw my hand, I want 5 cards to be mana. I don't even care about anything else. Nothing in basically my hand revolves around playing anything. It's just get the mana to play Maelstrom. That is how this deck works. So again, this is Maelstrom. They already printed him a bunch of times, so he's not that expensive anymore. Frankly, I think a lot of the older art looks just better than the newer art. Like this is the older art. This is the new one that came out. I mean, it's cool, but I like this guy more. It just preference taste, and this is the one that I run in my deck. So yeah, it has Cascade. Cascade, as I've been saying like 5 times. Everything I have has haste. So that allows me to play stuff like this. This card generally sucks. Generally not good, because the odds of you getting Miracle is very low. Even in Commander, it's very low. Maybe in 60 card decks it might be useful, but I've seen this on like top 10 worst cards tier list on some videos online, so I'm like, maybe it's not even good there. But at least in Commander with Maelstrom, I can target this card, play it for free, I get a free turn. I have like 3 free turns in my hands. I have Turnabout, which or 3 free turns in my deck. I have Turnabout, which allows me to untap everything. Time Spirals on my deck. I did buy this card for like 60 bucks. Friggin' busted card. You basically exile it at the end of your turn. Each player shuffles his or her graveyard into his or her library and then draws 7 cards. You untap 6 lands. It's the untapping 6 lands that makes this busted, in my opinion, because essentially what you're doing is you get another turn. This is another turn card, and by effect, you also stop a graveyard deck by just if someone's running a graveyard deck in Commander, which I really haven't seen, or like a mill deck. So, pretty good. It can target that. Greater good. This is where the deck synergy kind of comes in. So I have Greater Good, and I play Jace the Mind Sculptor. Jace normally sucks really bad in Commander because Planeswalkers just kind of suck. Okay. But what these cards both do, Jace the Mind Sculptor and Greater Good, is you can sacrifice a creature, or in Jace's case, you bounce it back to hand. You literally can sacrifice Maelstrom to draw cards equal to its power, which is 7. You draw 7 cards, you discard 3 cards, you can replay Maelstrom, and there's so many good cards, so many high power cards in the deck. It doesn't matter what you're hitting. You're just instantly, you're winning on top of winning. And you just keep doing this over and over. That's what Greater Good can do, because you can just straight up sack it a bunch of times. It's literally, it's awesome. It's so fun to play, in my opinion. A tally, if you can target a tally, everyone at the table knows it's close to game at that point. If you literally just draw a tally, it doesn't matter when you draw it. The fact that you're gaining quite literally up to 4 cards at advantage, you're playing a tally, you get a card that you can potentially draw, everybody else can potentially give you 3 cards. You literally are winning on almost every given variable when this card comes out. This card in general is busted, but like in this deck specifically, it has haste on top of that. So it's just straight up, it comes out swinging. You get a bunch of cards for free. This card, just getting it, like I said, is almost game ending on that premise alone. I love this card. Everyone hates playing against this card. Very good reason why you would hate playing against this card. Pretty much, when you play this card, you can target it with a Cascade, especially with Maelstrom's Cascade. Basically, you pick free or you pick wild. If they pick free, you do it from you basically play a creature from your hand. If you pick wild, you essentially Cascade from the deck, but there's no mana value at that point. You just Cascade until you literally hit a creature, put it to the field. I think this card is almost stupidly busted, but anyway, it's a real card, so I'm playing it. And yeah, so how you get around this, by the way, is you literally only pick free and you never pick wild. Why? Because there's less cards in someone's hand than there is in their deck. So always pick free if you're in this situation. Wild is just, you're just giving them more cards. So always pick free. Very fun card. Quite literally one of the, I think it's just insanely busted, but you know, like I said, it's a real card, so I'm playing it. Time Sprawl, kind of went over this. Basically a free turn. Stops some graveyard decks, but I've never seen a graveyard deck. So here we go. Magnus of the Mind. I've gotten this guy to work like 3 times. Horrible card. Trash card, actually. 6 mana for 4/5, and it's just a Mind's Desire. Like, you would just want to play Mind's Desire for 6. instead of waiting a turn to get this guy to proc. But because you have haste, you can pay that extra mana, tap him, boom. And what does it do? You shuffle your library, then exile the top X cards, where X is 1 plus the number of spells you cast this turn. Until the end of turn, you may play those cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. So not only did you just cascade a bunch of stuff, you get to do that again, but you just literally do it through this card. And on top of that, if you hit this card and chain it into a Mind's Desire, which I have done too, or you do Mind's Desire and chain it into Magnus, boom, do it again. And then you just do it again. And then on top of it, Mind's Desire has Storm. So when you play this spell, copy it for each spell you played before in this turn. If you Magnus Desire off of a Cascade, you quite literally just empty your whole deck. It just works that way. I've done it before. It is quite literally, it is insane when it happens and very, very fun. Obviously not fun for your opponent, but it is kind of cool to watch, I think. Some people get kind of intrigued because they're like, this never happens. This is a crazy deck. I don't even know how this works, but it's working. This is how it's working. Mind's Desire and Magnus, crazy. Crazy cards in this deck. Hullbreaker Horror, not much to say here. No one likes seeing this card come out. It can't be countered, and whenever you cast a spell, choose up to 1 return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. You're literally just, with Cascade, you're dumping everybody's hand, like their whole board, back to their hand, or like in the graveyard, basically back to their hand. It's a 7/8. It has haste. It's dirty. Now these two are very. You get these two out, you can just straight up win games too. So Pathbreaker Ibex. Whenever this card attacks, creatures you control gain trample, obviously good, and gain +X until end of turn, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. In general on this deck, it's going to be Maelstrom, so a 7/7. Everything on my field gets +7, and then it gets trample. Like, I get like 5 dudes out, and I can pretty much OHKO someone by default. I've done that before with like 2 cards with this card, just straight up deleting their health bar from 40 in Commander. The dirty card right here. This card is also like not that common to get. I don't know. If you want this card, I would just probably buy it online. It's not a very common card. It's kind of hard to get. Siege Behemoth, freaking dirty. This card, it makes this, when you get this card out, I would say that everyone at your table has quite literally till your next turn to kill you. This card is an absolute win condition for this deck. It has hexproof, and as long as this card is attacking for each creature you control, you can have it reassign its combat damage as if they weren't blocked. So you can just literally avoid all blocking together, hit anybody for straight damage. This card is disgusting, especially for this deck with insanely high creature values. Not much needs to be said about this. You literally redirect all damage. You control the battlefield. You are absolutely devastating anything. So, it is what it is, man. This deck is Cascade allows all this trash to be pulled off. Especially, everything gets haste, and 2 Cascades allow for wild interactions. I think this deck is, personally, like, if you're gonna like rank it on the tiering system, I forgot which way it goes because I always get confused. It's like the opposite, but it's not CDH. But I would say it's about a tier or 2 below that. That's about where this deck sits at. It's gonna absolutely mop over most casual decks. It is not a super casual deck. Cascade, a good Cascade deck is quite literally just going to trash on a lot of stuff because the value you get out of these cards is incredible, and it allows for interactions that really shouldn't take place. It's like, for instance, like Temporal Mastery actually being good, Magnus being good. You get cards like Sylvana Stampede. I mean, there's so many cards in this deck that are targetable by Maelstrom that it makes almost multiple win conditions just by how the game plays out. So thank you guys for listening to my rant really about my Commander deck that's based on Cascade. So have a good day.